Hello, I'm here to do a book review on The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test by Tom Wolfe. There we go. Follows the adventures of Ken Casey and his merry pranksters as they ride around on Further, the psychedelically colored bus, and get into all kinds of trouble. Hell's Angels, Paranoia, the Beals, all kinds of stuff. Basically, this goes through, kind of talks about Ken Casey in the Penny Lane days where he first discovered LSD. It goes on with all the pranksters. You're introduced to the merry pranksters. There's some really interesting chapters. They meet up with the Hells Angels and stuff. There's a Beatles after party they go to where they meet up with Hells Angels, and Hunter S. Thompson stops by, and a couple of cool things like that. And they just have this little house they all hang out in, and it's all very communical and interesting chapter. I really enjoyed that one. And there's lots of different things that goes on. Don't want to spoil anything too much, but definitely goes into every aspect of the thing. There's a chapter where one of the pranksters, the chapter's called Dream Wars, and he thinks that he's communicating psychically with other people, and it's some kind of war with him, and it just escalates, and it's totally insane, and really interesting, cool stuff. But I'm just going to read a chapter. This is towards the end of the book. Chapter's called Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, so it's kind of one of the high points in the book, but I'll just read up one of the chapters I liked. I looked around and people's faces were distorted. Lights were flashing everywhere. The screen at the end of the room had 3 or 4 different films on it at once, and the strobe light was flashing faster than it had been. The band, the Grateful Dead, was playing, but I couldn't hear the music. People were dancing. Someone came up to me and I shut my eyes, and with a machine he projected images onto the back of my eyelids. And nothing was in perspective. Nothing had any touch of normalcy or reality. I was afraid, because honestly, I thought that it was all in my mind, and that I had finally flipped out. I sought a person I trusted, stopped asking people what was happening. Mostly they laughed, not believing that I didn't know. I found a man I knew not very well, but with whom I felt simpatico with for the first time we met. I asked him what was happening, and if it was all me. And he laughed, and he held me very close and told me that the Kool-Aid had been spiked, and that I was just beginning my first LSD experience. And not to be afraid, but neither to accept nor reject. To always keep open, not to struggle or try to stop. He held me for a long time, and we grew closer than 2 people can be. Our bones merged. Our skin was one skin. There was no place where we could separate, where he stopped and I began. This closeness was impossible to describe in any but melodramatic terms. Still, I did feel that we had merged and become one in the true sense. There was nothing that could separate us, and that was meaning beyond anything that had ever been. And, the book is just, tons of this kind of stuff. It's really, really in-depth. It gives you a really good idea of the whole hippie counterculture and the whole beginnings of it, the whole rising tide there. And the ending is great. It's a great end to the book. It ties it all together. But it's definitely a book worth checking out. I enjoyed it, read it all the way, and it's a fantastic book. I definitely recommend picking it up. So I give it probably like a 4.5 out of 5. Just the 0.5 just because some parts are really hard to understand. You could argue that some of that is the genius, but for others that might be a little bit difficult for you to understand some parts. But other than that, fantastic book. I would definitely recommend picking it up. Stay tuned. I'll be doing a book review for Hunter S. Thompson's Hell's Angels, and I'll give you my full review on that book. So, peace.